right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, we are here at COP28 in the beautiful Expo City in Dubai. I'm your host, Omar, and this time around, we are joined by Dr. Jاسينتا Dسيلفا. She is the director of C Institute. Welcome to the studio. Very excited to have you.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, and I'm very happy to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure. Now, something very interesting. You actually started, Doctor, with a specialty and a passion in marketing, but somehow made the switch to sustainability.
Right.
Why is that? Are you that passionate about it?
I mean, from the land of where I'm coming from India, we always had that. Sustainability was always built in to our system, so it was never separate.
Right.
But when I came to the UAE, I realized that that was not the case at the time when I was here in 2006. So when I finished my PhD and I realized that there is a potential in sustainability, I started my research, particularly in plastic. I was quite intrigued by the whole concept of a lot of plastic waste around here, and we did not have any solution at that point of time. So we identified, so my students in a previous university and we did a project on how much plastic waste was generated at that point of time, what can be the solution that can come out of plastic. Plastic, is it really a problem? Can we convert that into revenue? So those were some of the aspects which are quite intriguing, and then I went into that particular journey, and I have been there so far. We've done lots of different research related to built environment sector. Recently, my paper got published in a journal called Sustainability, which focused on COP26, COP27 recommendations in the built environment sector. So a little bit about what is built environment sector is that it focuses on everything that you build an infrastructure, a community on. So from a developer, it could be an urban planner, it could be a designer, it could be an architect, all of them come together to build all these beautiful places that we have around here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So definitely there is a lot of carbon footprint that is generated because of the construction that we have.
Are we seeing progress when it comes to construction and sustainability? And if so, how much progress are we seeing? And is there some sort of goal? Do we have targets for where we want to be when it comes, if we're talking industry specific, right? Construction and sustainability. What are the goals that are in place, and are they attached to certain timelines?
Fantastic. So that's a great question, firstly. And yes, of course, there has been a lot of progress. Particularly in the UAE, if we see there's been a lot of push towards sustainability in particular. But if you see, there are a lot of stakeholders in the construction industry who want to make that move. And if I say our chairman at the Sustainable City, Mr. Faris Saeed, took the first mover advantage. Of course, it was not easy. There was a lot of challenges because people didn't understand the whole concept of sustainability then.
Right.
And he wanted to make that change from a regular construction to moving into sustainable construction. So sourcing locally was one of the challenges. Cost was another challenge. Regulations was another challenge as well, because these were the things which were just emerging at that point of time, and you have to go and explain to people what sustainability is and what it will do in the next couple of years was a challenge for him as well.
Right.
But of course, breaking the barriers, he did get into this whole concept of constructing the whole sustainable city, taking examples from all over the world. And now we today have a sustainable city which is housed by 3,000 residents.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Yes, and whoever is listening to me, I would welcome them to come to C Institute around and the sustainable city to have a look at it. You will see that the sustainable city houses every possible element of sustainability around the community.
When we say sustainable city, how sustainable is it truly?
Okay, good. I'm glad you asked me that question. So basically, when we say sustainability, it's a broad topic, right? It doesn't end on one note.
Sure.
So it does have to focus on a lot of aspects. So in the sustainable city, we focused on 6 elements. Okay, that's our DNA. and that's called as FEW, which is an acronym for food, energy, water, mobility, waste, and materials. All of these elements contribute to sustainable built environment. So if you say, have we covered it all in the built environment sector? Yes, we have. Because in the sustainable city, we can grow our own food. So our community members have a piece of land that they can buy it for a particular period of time, and they can grow their own salads. But we also have biodomes, which focus on producing these salads or tomatoes or lettuce or whatever you think. In terms of water, we make sure that the water that is utilized in that specific vicinity is utilized in the best possible manner. So the black water is treated, and then it's going back to the plants or all the other urban design that has been put up around. So if you see, all these elements are instilled.
Just very curious, I've seen certain areas and neighborhoods where people do grow their own food.
Absolutely.
How much of that, or how much of the food produced there, percentage-wise, goes into the actual consumption? So does it fulfill 10%, 5%, 50% of the actual consumption of the residents?
Okay, great. So what happens with the food? The food is divided into the businesses that are housed in our Sustainable City and Sea Institute, and the food that is grown in is being harvested and is provided to our residents. So I can say, yes, 5% of the food needs are taken care of by whatever we grow in-house. One such example is in the Sea Institute, we have something called as a container with vertical farming, and we partnered with Alaska Live. So they have their own lettuce farm, and every 3 weeks we have the harvest, and all of the employees get the salads.
That is absolutely amazing. Now, today is obviously Youth and Skills Day here at COP28. Is there any sort of direct ties between the Sea Institute in terms of educating and teaching the youth, since we're talking about youth today, about the future of sustainability? What sort of initiatives do you guys have in place for that?
Perfect. Okay, so Sea Institute is hub for research and education. So that sums it all, because we really are passionate about educating the world. And our chairman, again, going back to his philosophy or thought process, is whatever lessons that we have learned while constructing the sustainable city, we want to impart that to the youth, to the engineers, to all those urban planners, architects who are going to construct the future built environment, who are going to construct everything that you see here. So we do have our education program. It's a professional education program which provides around 40-odd number of courses in, of course, built environment sector, which is the main focus from our end, but we also focus on circular economy. We focus on waste-related workshops or any other knowledge which requires all those 6 elements that I mentioned, FEW. We offer courses on that. We have a research center where we invite interns from universities who work with us on different research topics. And then there are a lot of other things. Oh, one very important element that I would like to add is our Badayat program, the incubation center. So that definitely provides a lot of support to the youth, entrepreneurs who we have seen are lack of knowledge or they lack of direction in particular. So they do have fantastic ideas, but problem is they do not know the know-how or the managing skills or how to get the investment for their projects. So our Badayat Center or the incubation center takes care of that, providing them with lessons right from ideation to the investment phase. And then we nurture them until they're all right to go on their own and take care of themselves.
Absolutely. Now, we did touch very briefly on construction sustainability, and one thing that actually comes to mind is something that I became familiar with a couple of years ago, which is called LEED certification.
Right.
Tell us a little bit more about this LEED certification, because I was absolutely fascinated with it. And I'm trying to understand, why don't we see more of it, or why isn't that becoming a requirement when it comes to construction?
Good. Okay. So
first of all, what is LEED certification?
So LEED certification
and where is that certification issued from? Is it a local government thing, or is it an international thing?
No, it's an international thing.
Okay.
So what is LEED? LEED is a certification which checks you for all the sustainability aspects, particularly energy. Mm-hmm. There are separate criterias. You can tick some boxes and you can get the basic level of LEED certification, or you can get a platinum if you have covered all those aspects that the LEED wants you to.
Right.
Yeah? So that's your first question. Now, what happens, or why people are going towards that trend, is because that generates value. Mm-hmm. When you have a certificate, it automatically gives you credibility, isn't it? So that's the reason why LEED came into existence. LEED is an international certificate, but we do have some of that kind of certificate here in the UAE. If you've heard about Estidama.
Yes.
Estidama is one of the pearl rating system, which provides you with pearls or number of points based on how sustainable your building is. And that really adds on to the value of how your building is functioning or contributing to sustainability and climate change.
When you say it adds to the value, does that mean that it adds a premium to the actual price?
That's a good point or observation, I must say. So basically, it's not only the premium, it's the element of cutting down carbon. So we are actually putting in the effort of reducing our carbon emissions.
Right.
And then, of course, that also adds on to saying to your consumers or whoever is coming to you to say that we have done it. So that's the LEED certificate. Now, going back to what are the challenges, why people do not go back or have this certification, if that's the great thing to have, right?
Sure.
Sustainability doesn't come without challenges. There are a lot of challenges that you face. So, for example, if I go back to when Sustainable City was constructed, local support or local produce or materials were challenging. So it becomes the same challenge. Why people can't take a LEED certification is because, number one, of course, it's expensive still. You would love to have solar panels or any renewable energy, but again, that comes at a cost. And sometimes you don't know whether your end consumer really wants that and whether they are able to pay that much. So that really, again, adds on to the challenge of having a LEED certification.
Wow. Now, once again, back to something that we touched on earlier, what do you see the future of real estate construction versus sustainability being, not just here in the UAE, but maybe the region internationally? Is there anything that we could look forward to in terms of, within this period of time, we expect to achieve the following 1, 2, 3?
Great. Okay. So now that we are in COP, and this is COP28, I would like to take back a COP26, COP27.
Sure.
Because that was the time when the Green Building Council came together with a lot of developers or companies who really were looking for purpose. They wanted to build for purpose. And that's where there was a pledge signed that they will contribute to making buildings more green or construction more green. So looking at the procurement aspect of it or constructing aspect of it, there's a lot of promising that has been done, but COP28, they have actually seen a lot of implementation. So that's good news for all of us, particularly because built environment contributes to 40% of the carbon emissions. So that's a huge negative impact on the planet already. So this COP or the previous COP, all the members have come together and have pledged to find more local support, but also source more sustainably, create awareness. So there's a lot of capacity building and upskilling that is happening, particularly at the downstream and the upstream, because at the end of the day, supply chain, where does it come from? It comes from your upstream. If your farmer or if your miner or if anybody who is going to source you the raw material has no clue about what is sustainability, then definitely we have not reached that path yet. So a lot of construction developers or all of these stakeholders are contributing towards parting that knowledge to these people, helping them to source in the right possible manner. So going forward, the future looks bright, particularly if you look at the past 8 days at COP28. There has been a lot of progress and impactful progress, not just talk about it. So people are working towards, like organizations that have come to us recently want to really put in a meaningful impact. They just don't want to be associated just because the term sustainability. They actually really want to work on that.
Sure. Now, obviously, we know that the UAE and specifically Dubai, the amount of construction that is coming onto the landscape is absolutely astronomical.
Yeah.
I think I heard something around the neighborhood of 90,000 real estate units being introduced to the real estate market in Dubai alone. Now, how many of the developers, obviously we have some of the large reputable developers, we've got mid-size and smaller developers, but how many of these developers, let's talk about Dubai, do you think are actually heading in that direction? Are there any particular developers that are quite keen that were maybe involved here at COP28, real estate developers that are playing a part in the future of sustainable construction?
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I can't give you all the answers because, again, there are certain things that I'm not allowed to speak about.
Sure.
But yes, very recently we've talked to Aldar, if I may say.
Sure.
We are working with them in Abu Dhabi. So we do work on people of similar mindset, and they are into the same mindset as well, like as us. So they're going to be constructing sustainable city in Abu Dhabi. Then we see lots of other partners who are not particularly partnering with us, but over the period of time, we've seen that kind of spillover impact of what sustainable city has done.
Sure.
So we see that kind of elements coming back on moving towards renewable energy or making it more green or, as you said, making it more sustainable in terms of food or in any other ways. So we do see a lot of game change in the UAE in particular in the construction sector. So you will see going forward the projects would be much more into that direction, source locally, get more EPDs, that is environmental certification for all this material that you source from wherever you have them or bring them. You will see a lot of other stakeholders, particularly investors, if I may want to talk about them. They are looking at how sustainable you are making that project.
Right.
Yeah.
It does make sense. That's a very interesting angle.
Exactly. So if we talk about investors, and that's where ESG comes into picture, right?
Sure.
Environmental social governance aspect. And investor, when he is investing in your project, this is what he is looking at.
Absolutely.
How much impact are you making? And maybe let me add another point, since it's a youth day today. Our youth, our millennials are entering into the market right now, and you never know. Gen Zs maybe already entering into that space already. They are asking questions. They are asking some serious questions about how sustainable this project is, rather than asking what's the ROI in it for me, which is a game changer in itself, right?
Absolutely.
So if I may say, I have seen a couple of young investors on the table not asking for what is in it for me, but how can I contribute to sustainability?
Correct.
And how are you contributing to sustainability?
Correct.
Why should I be interested in this project? Not for money, but I want to see how much impact are you making.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely very interesting, and would love to carry on this conversation. Maybe we can have you join us once again and dig even deeper. Before we wrap things up, Doctor, just wanted to ask, what sort of final message or words would you like to share with our viewers on this platform provided by Trends?
So, first of all, thank you so much, Trends, for giving me this opportunity to speak about what I'm passionate about. The message is that we need to live with hope, of course. And sustainability is the hope for the future. But again, we cannot be hopeful until we put in the effort. So we need to put in the effort to make that world a better place to live in the future for our future generation. So that's the message for all of the people who are listening to me is we individuals do not have to wait for somebody else to make the policy, for regulation, for any change to make. We are the game changers. I think we should be equally contributing to the change that is required in this planet.
Dr. Jacintha, thank you so much for all the insight that you've provided and the amazing words. And we definitely look forward to having you here once again in the studio.
I'm glad. Thank you. I mean, if I make even a small change in the mindset, that means I have done something good.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Pleasure. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was another episode of Trending Echoes brought to you by Trends Research and Advisory. I was your host, Omar, and be sure to tune in to our next episode coming soon. We'll see you.